The real sweet spot to replace your income with options right away is having about 200,000 to $1 million to invest so that you can create passive income in just about an hour a week. And the reason why it's the perfect range is because you have enough capital to replace your income through a 1% weekly system. Now, you also have way, way, way too much capital to leave sitting in a savings account or a CD, as I was talking with someone today, CD, that's just way too much money for that, right? And you can't put it in those small interest accounts because why? Because you're actually losing money if you do that. Now, the other thing is that you're close enough to freedom that a disciplined system could get you to income replacement at a pretty quick clip, depending on what you needed, right? So if you had starting out a $200,000 account, we could, on a very conservative level, look to see about $1,000 to $2,000 a week in straight cash flow, right? And so that would be a great place for a starter who would want to learn this system of replacing your income with options. And the great part about it is that it only takes an hour a week, and you might be the type of person that really wants to take your revenue, the money that you have, and leverage it for control and results, but you don't want gambling, right? And that's really a very important thing to think about, is because so many people get into the markets because they're in a position of weakness versus a position of power, right? A position of power says, I have capital, I've worked hard, and I've done really well. And you might think, oh, I need to make $1 million to start replacing my income and I'll be set. But really, it starts much sooner than that. And if you have the right system, right? It can start much sooner than that if you have the right system, right? So we could use some other math examples. If you have 200K and you hit that 1% a week, that's 2,000 a week. If you have 500K, it's 5,000 a week. And if you have $1 million, it's 10,000 a week. Now, I don't recommend that if you have over $1 million that you try this out. Why? Because by that time you're making 10,000 a week, 40,000 a week, and you don't really need to penny pinch at that moment. So you could just hire an advisor, and an advisor might be able to do equal. Maybe they could do even a little bit less, but it just doesn't matter because you're already getting a good cash flow, right? So right now, the big question is, it's kind of the pain point of just being stuck, right? You're stuck and you're in that range. You've worked hard for years. You've saved, you've invested, you've built a business, but your capital's just sitting there making 4% or 3% while inflation eats it away, right? It's only okay really to do that for a small savings, right? Just for some trivial items that you might need. And you got to realize that Wall Street, they promise big returns. And I know so many people that just don't want to risk it because they've heard the horror stories of everything that's happened on Wall Street. And you've worked hard for that. You've made a lot of success to get where you're at, and I want to congratulate you. If you're watching this video and that's where you're at, you're like, yes, I have done that. I've really worked hard. And so you're still way ahead. You're rich on paper, but you're still trading time for money, which again is what I call the paycheck trap. You still don't have the ultimate freedom. You're not completely financially free. And that range is right where I'm trying to help people break free. It's the sweet spot of people who are just this close, and all we need is a few more things to get the freedom. And that's one of the things that I do in my program is I help with the transition from totally getting out of your job to being completely free. And so one of my students recently got involved with us, and he's currently, with less than a year of being in the program, has generated 76,000, is quickly generating $10,000 of cash flow every single month. And it's a perfect opportunity for him. And it really fits right in that mold of the 200,000 to $1 million sweet spot. And so my vision is to help small business owners who have 200,000 to $1 million to invest in passive income that only takes an hour a week to help them replace their income. And here's how I do it, right? So you might be like, well, how does he do that? How does it work? Well, the way that it works is we have a very safe options strategy. And you don't need to be an options expert because I could teach you how to do it. And we also do it together. So it's super, super simple. And we do this option strategy, and it's one of these strategies which a lot of people don't know about, but it's how to use your cash flow and make your cash flow work for you. And the way I like to describe it is you have the leverage of your cash and you're using your cash as leverage, which is basically what the bank does when you put your money in the bank, right? The reason the bank can give you interest at 2% or 3% or 1% or whatever they're doing is because they're taking their money, they're taking your money and they're using strategies to generate more than what you've given them. So if you give them 100K, they're paying you that 3%, they're paying you that 1%. So you give them 300K, they might pay you $3,000 in a year. And they're using investing strategies that will take that same 300K and make them anywhere up to 100K or more, right? So I'm basically teaching you how to use your own money and use your leverage to make that same kind of money. So it's time to stop letting the bank use your money, and it's time for you to start using it. You using the leverage. And that's what it is. It's using your cash flow as leverage to make money. A great metaphor, I would say, or an example would be, look at someone that owns some real estate and maybe they turn it into a parking lot and they're renting out parking spaces, right? They have that land, those parking spaces are valuable, and that land is worth money and they're renting it out, right? Well, your cash that you have that you worked really hard for has a lot of value if you know how to leverage it. And that's what I'm teaching with just 1 hour a week, is I'm teaching you how to leverage that cash flow in just 1 hour a week. And so the strategy is very low risk because we're investing in things that are very stable and secure. And we have a nice basket approach that I teach that keeps that cash flow rolling in each and every week. And that's why I say it's 1% a week, because once you get that snowball rolling, it really is 1% a week, and it's really powerful. And so when we use this strategy, this is the last part I'm going to mention, but when we use this strategy, we make money whether the stock will go up or whether the stock goes down, because we sell a premium on an option on a stock. And if the stock goes up, we get to keep that premium because we already sold it. And if it goes down, we keep that premium. And so this is one of those situations where if you win, you win. And if you lose, you win. It's a great scenario to be in. And I love teaching it. And we have a lot of fun. And I have a group coaching program where we meet once a week. We get together, we teach, we train, and we just work this thing out. We help each other to replace your income with options. And it's just a lot of fun. So if that sounds like you, if you're in that sweet spot, then check the link below in this video and try us out. We'd love to chat. And also, if you want more information about the strategy itself, check the related video here that is popping up right now, because this related video will give you some details and explain exactly how the strategy will work for you. So remember, imagine this. Every Monday, you know what you're earning this week. Your income's predictable. The time is yours again. You don't have to worry. You don't have to deal with a boss you hate. Instead, you have a system that is replacing your income. Thanks for watching.